Hey, Chris from Mystery Cleaning Winds of the File Coast once again. So, as the title of this video would suggest, I think mindset plays a massive part in running a business, okay? And your life experiences will ultimately, to some degree, shape the way you see the world and your mindset and your approach to problems, your approach to dealing with people, and just life in general, to be honest with you. So, as the title of this video would suggest, I believe that I have an unfair advantage when it comes to mindset. That's not to say I believe I'm the best thing since sliced bread. I don't think that. So I do. I'm proud of what I've accomplished, in estuary cleaning and in life in general. I'm a proud father, husband, etc. All that sort of stuff. I have a business. I am very happy where I am myself in my life currently. Okay, and with everything that's happening in the future, and sort of expanding the business and all that sort of stuff. Top dog, happy days, brilliant. But I'm by no means the best thing since sliced bread. This is not a brag. I just wanted to highlight to people the importance of mindset. Okay, cool. So why do I have this unfair advantage? Okay. So today's date is the 16th of July 2021, and that is exactly 15 years to the day that I was an event that ultimately it changed my life. It changed the way I look at things. It it reinforced for me sort of some of the the importance of mindset, to be honest with you. Okay, so some of you subscribers may or may not be aware, okay, for a number of years I was a member of the Army Reserve, and as part of that organisation I deployed to Iraq as a volunteer. I volunteered to go to Iraq. Why would someone, you might ask, want to volunteer to go to Iraq? It's a long story, but I was a long-serving member of the Army Reserve. I think I was in for about 17 years from memory. This was like 2002 to like 2018-ish, something like that. It was probably just shy of 17 years. So I during my military service, we were tasked in at Basra Air Station to guard Basra Air Station. I was part of Normandy company, force protection company. Nothing particularly war-y. I'm not going to sort of tell dits about sort of how war-y it was and all that sort of stuff. I mean, it's not what this video is about. So we were conducting a convoy. We were escorting two VIPs to an Iraqi army camp. These VIPs were two army colonels, and their job was to inspect an Iraqi camp, make sure they were doing everything that they were supposed to be doing and nothing that they shouldn't have been doing. Tick a few boxes, Bob's your uncle, Fanny's your aunt, bring them back to Basra Air Station. Happy days. But we did not make it to this camp. And the reason we did not make it to this camp was, as we were travelling along and I was in the lead vehicle of this convoy, I was doing a job called top cover. Top cover is basically the guy that shoots back if anybody sort of attacks the convoy, etc. So I'm doing top cover, looking out for threats, etc. I've got my Oppo stood next to me, Robo, and we're patrolling along, driving along, and all of a sudden, at a place called, on the map, we used to have spot maps, a place called Yellow 1 Alpha, we came under attack from a roadside bomb. Now, to give some perspective to this, okay, we were not in an armoured vehicle, we were not in a tank, we were not in an armoured personnel carrier, we were not even in a heavily sort of personnel armoured carrier. as such. We were in snatch Land Rovers. I'll leave a link in the description to sort of, for those not too familiar with the military, a snatch Land Rover is basically a Land Rover with a Kevlar box on the back of it, with a little hatch at the top and 2 double doors at the back. Okay, it's nothing to scream and shout about. It's a rugged vehicle, but it is not designed to get into a punch-up. It's purely a transportation vehicle. It's not designed to come under attack from a roadside bomb. It's not designed to take small arms fire. So I remember prior to deploying, okay, we were at a place called Lyd, which is down in Dover, and we were doing pre-deployment training. So we hadn't quite gone to Iraq just yet. We were about to go, and they conducted these drills, counter IED drills, and showed us how you should evacuate a vehicle in the event of a roadside bomb. And such was my negativity at the time. I remember vividly saying to one of my mates, stood next to us, and said, if we get contacted in an IED, from an IED in a snatch Land Rover, we are all brown bread. We're all gone. We're dead. You know, we're going home in suit bags, etc. You know what I mean? It's not. There's no way that anyone can survive being blown up in a snatch Land Rover. In my eyes, that was such was my mindset. I was like, nah, there's no way. There's just no way, right? So, back to, you know, on the day, 16th of July, local time, which was, you know, around 11:30 in the morning. Driving along, and next thing, roadside bomb goes off 5 meters from the side of the vehicle, and it fires a copper jet straight across the front of the vehicle, rips out the engine block, and you know, it just basically, you know, just bad news. It was just bad news. Okay, Robbo, who stood next to me doing top cover, suffered quite nasty sort of facial injuries. You know, sort of fractured eye socket and all this sort of stuff. I think he had a fractured skull, and a number of other injuries, which I'm not gonna go into. You know, it can get a bit graphic, to be honest with you. But ultimately, the point was, we got out of the vehicle, made our way back to the convoy, the rest of the convoy, who had reversed out of the area because they were worried about getting attacked as well. And yeah, I ultimately survived a roadside bomb. So what is that? How has that even remotely benefited me in the slightest? Okay, I'm just gonna turn this off. There we go. Oh, okay. So from a mindset point of view, you know, it taught me perspective in life. Okay, you know, many times we're walking around, I say we, society in general, we're walking around in our own sort of little bubble, and we've all got problems. We've all you know, had it where you know, something negative's happened to you and you've gone, why me, why, and all this sort of stuff, you know what I mean? But we, having, as a group, having gone through that, it taught me perspective in life. Okay, it taught me what was important, and all this, you know, all this jazz. It also taught me not to sweat the small stuff. You know, the other day, I was in a cafe. Took my mum out for a coffee, and she told me about her gardener, a guy called Peter, and he's got the mobile phone. He's on the phone to another customer, sort of thing, you know. And my mum can hear this customer effing and blinding and screaming and shouting at this poor gardener, right, over something and nothing, sort of thing. The way she was talking, it was like half of a house had fallen down and it was the gardener's fault. You know what I mean? And I don't sweat the small stuff. I don't scream and shout as much as I used to. I don't lose my temper as much. It does happen occasionally. But you know, perspective is a big thing. It's a big thing. And, and going back to why I think I have an unfair advantage when it comes to sort of business mindset and all this sort of stuff is because ultimately I have a new bar to measure almost like a new all-time low. So no matter what happens to me right now, let's say for argument's sake, God forbid, touch wood, it doesn't happen, but let's say I lose everything. Let's say my business fails. Let's say, let's say, that all my customers hate me. Let's say that, my reputation is in tatters, whatever. On rare occasions, I get nasty messages via YouTube. Like I've said in previous videos, bring them in, cupcake, I don't care. I don't lose my rag. I don't emotionally buy into stuff as much as perhaps what I used to do. And I have a new all-time low, which is basically to say, if it all goes to hell in a handbasket, if my life completely goes to rat shit overnight, well, at least, there is not a guy with a towel on his head trying to kill me. There is no matter what you do to me right now, anything, short of, you're blowing me up with a roadside bomb, right? I can handle. I'm pretty. I'm okay. Mindset is a subjective thing. We don't always think the same way. As individuals, we just don't think the same way. The driver. So on that day, the driver, his name was David Forshaw. There were no fatalities on that day by the grace of God, right? Or whatever, or call it dumb luck, whatever you want to call it. We all survived the blast. We all survived. Robbo was fairly beaten up, to be honest with you. I mean, he did suffer a number of injuries, to be honest with you. And yeah, there were some things that I saw that day that, will be with me forever. But I'm making a choice. I'm taking the choice to use that negative experience. And it was a negative experience. No one enjoys being blown up by a roadside bomb. Anyone that's ever been blown up by a roadside bomb will tell you that. And, not that I imagine that you would need telling, but there's no glory in it. There's no worry, sort of, all this sort of stuff. It's like, it's shit, quite frankly. The idea that someone wants to send you home in a flag draped box, okay, is shit, right? It's not great. But, I chose to look on the positives, draw upon the positives in that I am no longer there. I am not in that absolute rat hole of a country where people just want to kill me, right? And every day's a win. And I would be a liar if I was to sit here and tell you that I do not think about that incident every single day. Every morning I wake up, I'm grateful for being alive, and I truly am. Okay. But there are some people, very, very sadly, who fall down the rabbit hole. There's, the depression, PTSD, and all that sort of, stuff. That is a battle in its own right. And I'm not going to sit here and tell you I suffered from PTSD for whatever unknown reason, right? I was angry for a time. For a short time, I was angry. I was very wound up, as a, not, when you ask a young lad of 24 years old, as I was back then, I was 24, 15 years ago today. When you ask a 24-year-old lad to go to the other side of the world where you're not wanted to be there to help try and make these people's lives better, all right, okay, and, every potential vehicle checkpoint is a danger. Every, foot patrol that you go on is a potential danger. Every open window could be a guy with an RPG or a rifle in that window, and you are constantly on edge. There is only so long the human body can go through those kinds of conditions, okay, and not, you know what I mean, and not sort of turn in on itself. So you do get a bit wound up and a bit anxious, sort of thing. And I experienced that. But I would not say, not that there's anything wrong with PTSD, you know, in suffering from PTSD and admitting to it. There's nothing wrong with admitting to it. I personally don't think I suffered from PTSD. Okay, I was never diagnosed with PTSD, and you know, we all survived the blast and no one died on the day. And we were told by the Weapons Intelligence Section, the WIS team, the people that deal with sort of weapons, and they sort of look at where these weapons are coming from and who made them and all this sort of jazz. They told us that at no point up until that point, and as far as I'm aware, in history so far, no one has ever survived. No team has ever survived being attacked by an IED in a snatched Land Rover and having no fatalities on the day, to my knowledge. Okay, I will stand corrected if I'm wrong, right? But I am pretty sure we are the only call sign to ever be contacted by IED and not suffer fatalities on the day. And do you know what the worst thing about all of that is? Is that very, very sadly, David Forshaw took his own life. He was our driver. There were no fatalities on the day, and he took his own life. That, something in me changed when I got a phone call in the middle of the night from Ken Simpson, who was my, you know, almost, he was my effectively, you know, sort of corporal within the unit, within my sort of multiple. And he rang me and told me that David Forshaw had taken his own life. Something in me changed. It just, you know, seeing the effect that it had on his family, on his friends, it was horrific through that. I never ever want to experience going to a funeral of someone that's taken their own life. I felt really, really sorry for the family. I felt sorry for Dave. You know, and a small part of me just feels that, you know, I have no right. Certainly at the very beginning, when I got back from Iraq, a small part of me felt that no part of me actually deserved to survive. And you have what's called survivor's guilt, and I had that for a time, to be honest with you, because ironically, I didn't have survivor's guilt while we all survived. When we all got through it all together, and we were okay. You know, as far as I was aware, you know, we were all okay, and you know, happy days. But I had survivor's guilt when David Forshaw took his own life, because at the time of the blast, I had my head out at the top of the vehicle. The blast actually blew my helmet clean off my head. So, yeah, it's a strange one. But yeah, mindset. Looking at the positives, using that negative experience has now basically shown me not to sweat the small stuff. And now I don't get emotionally eaten up by stuff that ultimately just doesn't matter. And people just look at me in a different light now. When some people are talking about things that, you know, for example, I don't know, give an example, something small. Like that, I did a video, and it was quite funny. I did a video a while back, showing people the van setup that I have, and it was the one where someone had tried breaking into my van, and yeah, initially I was pissed off. I was annoyed, but that soon subsided, and it was like, right, let's get it sorted, let's get it fixed. And you know, Paul and Carl and a couple of other people that obviously found out what had happened, I found they were more angry than I was about the whole situation. I mean, yeah, I was angry, but then it quickly subsided to the point where it was like, right, let's just get it sorted, let's get it fixed. And it's strange to see when you know, something happens to you and other people see that things happen to you, and then they effectively are more angry than you about something that doesn't really affect them. You know, it affected me. I had to replace the lock on the van. I got the locksmith out, you know, 300 quid down the spout, thanks very much. But they were really, really annoyed, and they were really angry. They were at the point where they'd have quite happily, if they could have got their hands on the guy, turned him inside out. It's little things like that I noticed, and I just think to myself, all right, well, it is what it is. Let's just get it fixed. Let's get it done. And same with this franchise that I'm setting up with the window cleaning. I will do a video and a bit more in depth about the franchise and stuff like that. But in terms of mindset, in terms of sort of, I was explaining to people who I served in the reserves with about what I'm doing and stuff like that, and a lot of them think I'm mad. They think I'm crazy. They think that it's a lot of work to take on. It's risky, and all this sort of stuff. And they were like, they seemed more emotionally involved, or emotionally involved than me. But yeah. So I'm going to leave the video here. But bottom line, right? It doesn't matter what background you come from. It doesn't matter. You can't change what has happened to you in your life. You can't change it. I can no more change the fact that I was blown up than I can, stop it from raining. I choose to live positively. I choose to not be brought down by it all. Because here's the thing, at least in my eyes, and comment in the comment section if you think I'm nuts, that's fine. But I choose to not think negatively, because if I do, then the bastards win. And anybody that will tell you, anyone that knows anything about me will tell you, I always have the last word. I always have the last word when it comes to a row or when it comes to conflict. I always have the last word. And I choose to live a positive life, so that these bastards don't win. But there we go. Massive thanks to those that support the channel, as per usual. I will endeavour to do some filming. We've got a few more jobs booked in. And yeah, so should get some decent filming done at some point. A fair bit of editing to do as well. So I'm going to leave that there. As usual, feel free to like, share and subscribe. And I will see you all in the next video. And keep it positive, guys. See you in a bit. All the very best.